Hi, I'm Eric George.
And I'm Lindsay Mayer, and welcome to Where Coffee Gets Spilled. This is a conversational podcast where careers get human. We spill career stories one cup at a time through honest, reflective, and fun conversations.
Grab your cup, relax. You're not running late. Let's just spill the beans and let the convo percolate.
Today, we are going to welcome in a person that I'm very, very excited to talk to.
Me
Our,
too.
our guest today is Dr. Nydia Martinez. She's the executive director of the Latino Academy of Workforce Development, which happens to be a Madison based nonprofit advancing adult education, workforce training, and economic mobility. The Latino Academy closes opportunity gaps by aligning GED, ESL, digital literacy, and sector based training in construction, transportation, and hospitality with strong employer partnerships. Under her leadership, the Latino Academy connects individuals facing structural barriers to family sustaining careers while strengthening the region's workforce pipeline. She has been named one of Wisconsin's most influential Latina leaders of 2024, and she previously served as the dean of Eastern Washington University, where she led career readiness initiatives for first generation and low income students. Dr. Martinez happens to hold a PhD in history from the University of New Mexico. And Dr. Martinez also happens to be a friend of mine who I very much enjoy connecting with over coffee and having probably longer conversations than we had bargained for. Um, Welcome, Nydia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I really appreciate that lovely introduction.
Yeah, well, I could go on singing your praises. You're one of my faves.
So that means that we're going to go from coffee to beer. I like that. Let's embrace Wisconsin.
Now that's a whole other podcast.
I know, right? Yeah, it's after hours.
Fantastic.
Well, one of the things that we have been doing, it's turned into a kind of a bit in terms of starting this off, but I love hearing about what our guests dreamt of doing when they were kids. Like what did little girl Nydia dream of aspire to be when she was a kid?
Well, little Nydia used to live, so I'm from southern Mexico, from a rural area. So when I was little, I remember playing and pretending to speak English and traveling and imagining I was just leaving and traveling somewhere because I used to watch TV, right? And that was the thing to do. So yeah, and there it goes. Little Nydia is speaking English. That makes sense rather than pretending. Yes, and I have traveled quite a bit. So it happened.
Very, very cool. Besides speaking English and traveling, did you have work things that you thought you were doing? How did you picture your career going?
I didn't even had a concept of what was work.
Yeah.
My parents were farmers, so
Okay.
I didn't even really imagine that part. It was, to me, it was mostly like, where do I want to go? I just wanted to get out of the little town, which
Sure.
I did. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And now you're in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin, of all places.
I know, never imagined, never. I mean, Madison was never even in my radar, right, of possibilities. And yeah, it's beautiful. I love the space. It's a beautiful community. I've been pleasantly surprised about Madison. So I'm very happy of being here. And I'm hopefully I'm not planning to move. This is my last landing, I hope.
Good.
That's good. It's not a bad place to be. I think it gets a bad rap being in the Midwest, but Madison is
Oh.
very beautiful with campus and everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And lots of things to do. Very,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
fun place. It's a fun place.
It is. So tell us a little bit about your journey. So you got your degree from University of New Mexico. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about, did you know what you're going to go to school for when you started? Or were you one of those where it's
No.
like, oh, get started and figure it out? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things for me was always going to I knew I had to go to the university. My parents only finished elementary school, and especially it was very important for my mother, especially for all her female, the daughters. We all left home very early, and that was her thing. It's like
Hmm.
you need to live, you need to get out.
Mhm.
So yeah, I knew that I had to go to the university. When I first came to the United States, I was over in San Antonio, Texas. And when I was in San Antonio, from high school, I went to community college because that's kind of what I knew and that's what I could afford at that moment. And all my family was in Mexico. And one of the things is that I kind of got stuck in community college because I didn't know the processes, to get out, to navigate those systems.
Mm.
But it
Mhm.
was also good that I got stuck because I took everything. At one point, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I found it really good. So I went that direction. I was like, oh no, I want to be an accountant because I like the class. And I went that direction. And now I did, you name it. I went like physics. I think I took every credit I could think of. And there was just, but it was really fun and it gave me a lot of breath, right? And
Mhm.
I was going to go for a marketing degree. And as part of the business program, I had to take a ethics class. And the ethics class was provided by the philosophy department. And I entered into a philosophy class, and that was it. I just fell in love with philosophy. More specific, the existentialist, right? Questioning every aspect of my life and why I was doing what I was doing. So, I always tell this, like, you had to imagine you have this, it was the first in my family that was getting a degree in a university in the United States. And my family was very proud. So I called my mother and told her that I was getting a degree in philosophy. There was not a lot of cheering in the other
I
side
was
of the
gonna
phone.
say you're kind of laughing, and
Oh yeah, but it was like for me, it was just so much passion. I enjoyed it. I shaped so much of the things, and I went into a 4-year college, and I went for a philosophy degree, and then as I was going through the humanities, I fell in love also with American studies at that time because those were the classes that were offered. So I got 2 degrees. And when I got out of it, again, first generation student, international student, and I didn't had a lot of guidance. So once I got out of there, I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't know what to do with these degrees. So I enter into I think what I was doing the first time I was working to an insurance company, which had nothing to do with my degree. It was just a job. And that was the motivation. I hated that job so much that I just
Mhm.
needed to go back to get a degree. And the only thing I could think of was teaching. So, and then I went back to the university and I just kind of looked around and they were still taking people for the history masters. So I was like, okay, sign me in there because history going to take me to teaching. That was it. There was no guidance. And I think that really shaped the way I approach when it comes to navigating systems for individuals, because it really impacts. If you don't know how to navigate the systems, you're just blind, right? You're just going to directions. And that, for me, fortunately, it guided me in directions that were helpful for me. But it also shaped a lot the way that I approach my career and the things I have done, when it comes to career navigation for first generation students, for low income, as well as for the work I do today. So that's
Yeah.
how I navigated things. So
It's really interesting too. I didn't know that you worked in an insurance job before, but it is funny how the jobs that we hate or the jobs that don't fit us at all, how they impact our decision making, right?
oh
Because
yeah.
that was
Mhm.
obviously, I'm not sure how much you could tell me about what you did in that job, but it wasn't for you.
Oh no. It was that job that I couldn't wait till 5 o'clock, come in because it
Yeah.
was 4:59 and I was already packing my stuff and getting out of there because I hated it so much. I don't remember what I was doing, but it was just, yeah,
I
exactly.
I also heard you say you were interested in being a marine biologist for a bit. We did 2 weeks
Yes.
ago have a guest who also wanted to be a marine biologist. So I almost wonder if we should keep a little tally mark system going
Yes.
on how many
I think so
times that one
too.
comes up. It was definitely popular in our generation, I think.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that I really have enjoyed with speaking with you and getting to know you, Nydia, is that you have such high curiosity in a lot of different
Mm,
things,
mhm.
and you get like you get that intellectual excitement for so many different topics. I'm how has that played out throughout your career, not just now, but in some of your other positions that you've held in university, or teaching, or whatever other ways? Like, how has that played out for you?
Um, I mean, I think the curiosity came out of necessity. You have to adapt. As an
Hmm.
immigrant, you constantly have to adapt. You have to learn. You have to figure it out. So it's also a survival skill, right?
Yeah.
So my
Mm,
curiosity is always I come to a space where people don't speak my language, people don't I don't understand the cultural dynamics that are happening in there. So my first strategy is observe, look, figure out what is happening, and then trying to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can, right? So that
mm,
curiosity, and then I'm noticing so many things, either from the way that people are dressing, the way that people are talking, how there's so many cues, there's so many languages happening in any interaction and any
Yeah.
moment that has led me to navigate different spaces. And that curiosity has opened doors to having all kinds of random conversations, right? I mean, it's like I'm
Hmm.
always just kind of learning. I just different knowledge about bread making, about you just, I mean, I don't know, just kind of like you bring it, like, and even if I don't know anything about the topic, I will ask because I want to know, I want to connect with you,
Yeah.
because connectivity has been also a survival skill that has helped me to navigate spaces and to be very
Sure.
successful on those spaces. And how do you do it is by asking questions, be interested on what else other than myself, right?
Yeah.
yeah. You said that curiosity opened doors for you. Can you talk like throughout your career? Can you talk a little bit about
Mhm.
that and how you would say that happened?
Um, yeah. So let's see. I mean, some curiosity I can think of. Travel. So one of the things that I like to do, like I mentioned, one of my dreams was traveling, right? So I had traveled to, I got 28 countries, mostly backpacking by
Wow.
myself,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And so going to places like that, a lot of times, that's what it means. It's like I'm going to a space that I don't speak the language. I don't, so I try to figure out, right? So when it comes
Mm,
to my career, I'm entering into spaces where sometimes I'm the only immigrant or I'm the only woman or
mm,
right. So I enter into that space. And to me, curiosity also goes with humility, right? Because you just don't know what you're there. So when I walk into the space,
Yeah.
I'm always ready to ask questions and to learn, to listen, to lean in. And that has opened the doors for people to to say it's like, oh, let me teach you more because they know I'm interested, right?
Hmm.
I think
mm.
one of the most recent advice and great advice I received, especially right now in my role, I have to do, in previous role, I have to do a lot of fundraising. So they say, one of the things says is like, ask for advice and you will receive money. Ask for money and you're going to receive advice. And to me, asking for advice is curiosity, right? Because I
Yeah.
want to know.
Mm,
And
mhm.
that's how I would say that has opened doors. That would be an example.
Oh, Nydia, I think it's so interesting because with the curiosity, my brain was going towards kind of like how you're a voracious reader and you're taking all these classes and you got 2 degrees and then you got a master's degree and then you got your PhD. And so I was thinking like in the context of the like consuming knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
getting
Mm,
excited to do this. But you added the word humility to the curiosity and it completely changes the context.
Mm-hmm.
It really does,
mhm.
and I think when you're saying that you've explored and you've backpacked and you things like that, that is a different type of intellectual um hunger or thirst than just the academia or the academic side of things. Would you how do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because yes, knowledge can only, like the academic knowledge, right? That can only take you so far. But in the
Mhm.
type of job I have is human relations. I
Mm.
have to know how to navigate human relations, right? As executive director, as the leader, as a fundraiser, as community builder, and so on. So to me, if you're not curious, so those opportunities of traveling and getting to know and learning those spaces is about building the relationships. You're not going to be able to build relationship if you only leaning into that printed knowledge or that very
Mhm.
structured knowledge, right? That becomes very problematic to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, definitely the humility, the curiosity is like you opening the door, I guess, because um, when I mean, we all learn, right, by mistakes.
Yeah.
So I mean, like how many times I had come into spaces and I had made every mistake when I was teaching. I mean, I had to learn, English. I had to learn the language, the culture when I came to this country, and in the process, I offended everybody and everything
Really?
because I didn't know. Like I didn't know gender, like what words are appropriate for gender, like especially
Sure.
in academic spaces. You're learning, you're trying to
Oh.
figure it out. In my country of origin, you don't have the same structures, right? For
Okay.
example, racial dynamics and what words are okay to say and you're not okay to say, right? It's like
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in this country. I didn't understood some of those. I learned now, over time and so
Mm.
on. But so because of that process, I also learned to kind of have that humility to be able to step in there and say like, oh, I asked the question and kind of listen. Oh, thank you. And I appreciate when someone shares their knowledge or their experience and keeping attention to that. I hope, yeah.
Yeah, that feels like something I apology, I know you got a question here too, Lindsay, but I
No,
feel
no,
like
you're good.
that's such a great takeaway for professionals in all walks of life, right? It's that the human side of it, the relationship side of it, and in some of the cultural contexts you're talking about here, it's big differences. It's you traveling to other countries you've never been to, or working in educating and developing your career here, and then on top of that, New Mexico is different from Washington State, which is different from Wisconsin.
Mm.
And so you have these subcultures and subcontexts that you have to explore and navigate too. And I think that's scary for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, this is something that I
I
think
was gonna
scares
say.
people about networking, or
Oh, yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
connecting with other people because they're afraid they're going to say something that they'll regret, or they're afraid that they're going to not look the most polished or whatever they're worried
Mm-hmm.
about. And I just think kind of what you were saying there is just like, I don't know. I feel like I need a little graphic and a sound effect that says key takeaway, like from the episode here. Like this is a key takeaway. I think this is one that people should sit with and reflect on a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that's where kind of I don't know if it was a question or just an observation too, is I think your willingness just to be like, I don't know, so I'm going to ask, and not
Yeah.
having that self-consciousness, or maybe I mean, and maybe just push through it. I just think that's great because, like Eric said, networking, that kind of thing, people don't ask questions for fear of looking stupid, to be straight,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
sounding stupid. I don't like using that word, but I think that's where it comes up for a lot of people, of just they don't question. Maybe they're curious, but just afraid to ask the question. So I think you're a great role model for those out there who, ask those questions. Because I did like, sorry, I wrote down some notes, and I really liked how you talked about uncertainty and how you can't plan for everything to be certain. And I think your curiosity plays in that. But can you tell us a little bit more about, like, because you had written that,
Mhm.
you must have. I mean, obviously you learned that lesson along the way, but like maybe expand on that a little bit about how did that become a thing for you? Because you seem very grounded in that there's always going to be change.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most uh, difficult thing and the most painful thing for individuals for at any level is when you trying to hold on to um, things as they are, right?
Mhm.
And that is
Mhm.
the change. What is that phrase? It's like everything changes. The only thing that doesn't change is that everything changes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm.
You have to
Mhm.
embrace change. And either, so for me, that uncertainty is that I can plan as much as I can, right? But for example, we just don't know what the economic dynamics, the political dynamics are going to be in the next year, within the next 6 months, right?
Hmm.
And we're going to
Mhm.
have to adapt and constantly adapting. So it's just, I do my best, right? Within the moment I have. And if that doesn't work, I just like, okay, so what can we do? What I lean into my team, I lean is like bringing as many people in, right? And also having a diversity. That uncertainty is not just throwing my hands and say like, I'm not gonna do anything because everything is uncertain and so on, or no, or you cannot plan because everything. No, you still have to plan. You still have to figure things out, but also be ready that those plans can shift at any
Hmm.
moment,
Mm.
right? And what are you
Mhm.
gonna do if it doesn't work? What is the next opportunity? And always, I really like that idea. Okay, if this, what are the opportunities within those changes, within that moment of uncertainty? And sometimes the opportunities are so unexpected, and you just end in different directions. And I think that also has to do with philosophy. Like I mentioned, one of my foundational areas was the existentialists, right? And existentialists, that group of Jean-Paul Sartre and Kierkegaard and so on, so many of them, they focus pretty much on the uncertainty of life. And that's
Yeah.
what you jump in, and that's what it does. At every
Mm.
moment, you make the best choice that you have in front of you based on just what you know, and knowing that everything can change, and that uncertainty. And especially, I think in this political moments, I think for the 21st century, you have to be ready. There is how much change has happened in the last. Just look at the last 5 years, from politics, economics, technology. I
Artificial
mean,
intelligence.
Yeah.
artificial intelligence is
Yeah.
creating a lot of anxiety to people looking in jobs. Like, is it going to shape? So then uncertainty is there. So the question is like, okay, so what can we do with what we have? What is the opportunity? What is coming? What is next? Who is around you? How can you lean into those knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
That doesn't change. The
Yeah.
need to have strong relationships. That is one of the things that doesn't change, right?
correct.
And
Mm.
the thing that I keep thinking back on, I had a boss, and I'm sure she borrowed this from somebody or stole it directly. But she would always say, "Change is mandatory, growth is optional." And you're right,
Ah.
change is the only thing that's guaranteed. It's going to happen. How you react to it is where your choice is. And I think putting people around you, you mentioned your team. There's also community members and partners, and it could be a supervisor, it could be family, whatever it is. But the more, I don't know, I think the more you have established social roots and connections, and the more you're willing to invest in those relationships, in those connections with other
Mhm.
people, um, I think it helps you find success more often, I guess. And maybe it's not even so much about you finding success as success finding you by virtue of your connections with many other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about those relationships as much as vertical as horizontal, right? Because I think sometimes
Mhm.
the problem where I remember in networking, right, especially when you're looking for a job, a lot of times it's like thinking vertical, like people who are in a hierarchy. They're higher of you, so you're trying to go up, but you forget that so much of the relationship, many times the opportunities come at the vertical level, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
building those relationships, and sometimes they're even from people that might not have any relation to your field. It might be something completely different, and then you just
Mhm.
don't know how that opened doors. So I think it's important to know the culture of your community,
Mhm.
understanding how your community operates, what are the power dynamics in the community, how power operates in the community or operates in your area, so that you understand how do you navigate those power dynamics, right?
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of times when we looking for jobs or career opportunities, we don't think about power dynamics, and it's so important to understand them so that you know how
Mhm.
to navigate. And I mean, the power dynamic and power exists at every level. It doesn't mean a power meaning those who are above you or who have more control, but it's just sometimes the people who are most influential are not necessarily the ones that have the most money, but they have the reputation in the community, they have the
Sure.
respect in the community. And if you are able to gain that respect, those people are going to advocate for you, and those you're going to enter into those, you're going to open more doors for you. So you
Yeah.
have to
Mm.
think about, you have to understand how those power dynamics work.
Hmm. I really like how you mentioned horizontally. I think people tend to forget that aspect.
Uh-huh.
It's always managing up, you hear, and things like, and those
Yep.
phrases
Mhm.
like that. And so I really like that you touched on horizontally and how much your peers and those around you in different areas are watching what you're doing and how you're interacting. That can really make a difference in your career. So I love that you said that of because I think that tends to get overlooked. I think in my episode of the podcast I talked about, we talked a little bit about playing the political game and things like that. And it's like, yeah, you need to do that, but like I think yeah, having those relationships kind of across is
Well,
is so important. Is
there's that.
more important to some degree, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
tell you a story. So when
Go
I
Yeah.
ahead.
was applying, I had just finished my PhD and I needed to find a job. I was applying for postdoctoral positions, and it was the first time I was going out, right? And I remember one of my mentors. He was a theater performer who was my mentor, and he sat down with me and said, it's like, remember that one of the most important people that you're going to connect with is going to be the secretary, and it's going to be the staffer when you go to these positions, because that's at that point, everything was printed and so on, but it's like the secretary is going to either they're gonna whoever if that doc professor, whoever is good, or dean, is going to ask the secretary, what do you think about that person that came in? They're going to ask them for
Mhm.
advice. And if
Mm,
you don't know how to treat the secretary, that secretary can speak highly of you, or they can also derail your opportunity. And I always remember, right, even the same thing when you are trying to make connections at the political, with senators and so on, you make sure you treat those staffers with respect. You make connections with them, because they can open the doors for you more that, to get those access. It's just treat them right. And
Mhm.
I always remember that. So every time I go, it's like, it's not just the vertical. You have to think about the horizontal, and it's even more powerful sometimes than the vertical.
Yeah, I
I
think
love
I
that.
think too that some of that vertical piece of it, it ends up feeling transactional to people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yep.
And
mhm,
so, like, if you're only focused on all the network that I'm going to do, all the connecting that I'm ever going to do is for people who are in the types of jobs that I want or in the
mhm,
stepping stone jobs that I want. Now, every time that you go out with the intention of networking, you're putting this pressure on yourself to not you're not building relationships, right? Like you're looking for something. You've got an ask. You always
Mm-hmm.
have an ask. And I do understand that in lobbying situations or fundraising situations or things like that, there is an ask often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the nature of life in a lot of ways. But I think if you're looking just at networking, for the sake of connecting with as many people in your field or adjacent to your field. Um, it doesn't have to be transactional. It can be just establishing connections with people. And that's where every level matters, because you don't know when you make that kind of impression with somebody and you show people that you are caring and ethical, honest. Um, yeah, you never know who's going to advocate for you,
Correct.
which I think is pretty cool.
And it's kind of like when nobody's watching too. It's like, what do you do? It's like that quote about I'm losing it, but like, um, do what's right when nobody's watching.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
just think that too. It's like, Eric, you were talking about networking, and it's like, talk with it. Like, yes, everybody wants business or, has an ask for fundraising or things like that. But you never know who that person that you're talking to might know somebody or like unexpectedly can bring some great things into your life. So I
Yeah.
love the relationship part too.
Yeah,
That's just so important.
yeah, and also you just never know when also you are able to reciprocate, right? To give it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to offer
Yeah.
to others, because it
True.
cannot just
Yep.
be your way. You also have to, you have the opportunity to share what you have, because you will. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's true.
So so we haven't talked a ton directly about the Latino Academy, but that is where our paths have crossed.
Yes.
And I enjoy serving on in some volunteer capacities. I enjoy being able to do business with you guys. I've also enjoyed getting to know a lot of the people that work on your team. What are some of the, I don't know, one or two big learning moments in your time at the Latino Academy? Maybe it was an aha moment, or maybe it was a little bit more subtle than that, but still felt profound to you in some way. How would you describe some of those learning experiences?
So I think it was not the aha moment and also celebration, right? Is um so my team is so diverse. I mean, yes, it's Latinos, right? But I think the aha moment for me is when I saw so right now my team represents 8 different countries,
That's so
right?
cool.
Wow.
8 different
That is
countries.
so
They
cool.
speak
I know,
Yeah.
that's
multiple
awesome.
languages, and even though yes, we speak, we share language. We're immigrants and stuff, but everyone comes from different backgrounds. We have people with masters. We have people who only finished high school. We have people all this background and all this experience and knowledge that comes together and brings. We all have that shared mission. So I think the aha moment is when I saw that. Diversity within that community, right? Is so big. And to me, it's like that's what it makes it so vibrant. That's what it makes it so adaptive, because because everyone, all the experiences that are being brought forward, and everyone has a space, and I recognize that. I mean, again, the community itself, we only represent a small fraction of 20 different countries, right? That would be representing the Latino population. So we have people from other places too. So I think that was a big aha moment that in practice that I really enjoyed.
That's so cool.
Something more subtle as I'm learning. I think, what I was sharing about the importance of like how many people is amazing. How many people where everyone is building relationships, and how the importance, like right now when I select my team and we work really hard in the team, one of the key pieces for us is the person that we are bringing in have the relational ability to relate to students, to relate to community members, to relate to politicians, to whoever comes in the door. Can they relate that? Do they have those soft skills? So that is so important, because now it's not just me doing the work of advocating for the organization or fundraising for the organization. I have a whole team. Everyone is on board.
Mhm.
And I go into the community and say, oh my God, I ran into your team member and so, and they're just really good and they speak so highly. And it's no longer it's just my job, it's everyone's mission, right? So I think that was another subtle learning moment that I really appreciated.
We could have so many conversations about leadership and about recruitment and selection. There was a lot of things that that touched on in there, and I know we're getting close to wrap time here, but maybe offline, Nydia, we could have
Yeah.
a non podcast cup of coffee, because I think that there's some leadership lessons in there too that are really neat. So
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
that's just really special. I mean, just to have a team like that and building those relationships, which we've said multiple times, but then having someone tell you your team talks highly of you and they're great. I mean, what an honor for you as a leader to hear that. That's amazing. I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't, just because you can feel your positivity through the screen.
mhm.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, wrapping up, just if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners, what would you say to them?
Oh, one piece of advice. Oh, in what area? Because I can tell you in a lot of areas. So now I'm
You
thinking like, oh my God, I can tell you what part.
you pick.
I pick. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I think um I think one of the best things I have has shaped me, has influenced me, has been having a diversity of ideas, not having a homogeneous group. Because
Mm,
I don't want people, I don't want a soundboard that people thinks like me, says the same thing. No, it doesn't work, because then you
mm,
don't have um, creativity, innovation does not happen, right?
Yeah.
In a space
mm,
where everyone thinks the same, talks the same, comes from the same background.
mm,
So but also it creates a lot of anxiety, because sometimes you want to make the quick decision so everyone agrees with you and like move on and the next thing comes in. But if you don't give space for that discomfort, you don't give space for that um you want to have innovation, so that means discomfort, that means uncertainty, that means that you have to bring voices and experiences that are different to yours. So
mm.
I think, have you given yourself that opportunity or have that? I think that would, yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, I want to make sure that people gives themselves that opportunity of being uncomfortable, of have a broad experience of voices, and
Mm,
when
Yeah.
mhm,
I mean, diversity of thought, diversity
yeah,
of background, diverse
mhm.
opinions, like all of that mixes together. And I think that there's a lot of I think that there's evidence to support this as well, that is very beneficial to organizations.
I
So
agree.
very cool.
yeah,
Well, thank you, Nydia, so much for your time.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful to chat with you. And I feel like I say this every week, but I feel like I wish I had another hour to chat with on this. And I'm not sure
I
everybody
know.
else would want to listen for another hour, but I
Oh,
certainly would
yes.
enjoy it. So thank you so much for your time,
Yeah. Thank you
Nydia.
for joining
oh,
us.
thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation. I love the conversation. This is fun. Thank you.
Excellent. If you have anything that you would like to share, please feel free to comment. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like it, share it with your friends. We want engagement, and we want to make sure that we're bringing things that are valuable for all sorts of different types of professionals that may be interested in this content. So, thank you again for this week, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.